Shalom, beloved, and hopefully everyone is doing wonderful this afternoon. I begin to realize that a lot of things that this system does and say, whether it seems like it's again to right its wrongs, to fix the breaches that it has caused. I begin to realize that a lot of the stuff that these people in this system does is really not an honor. It's really not for the good. Again, to fix you know the wrongs, right? To right the wrongs. But it's really done to make mockery, to insult, right? To to actually show that they really know who we are, right? Even though it may seem like it's something honorable in the beginning. And it got me thinking, right? It got me thinking about the whole notion of 40 acres in the mule. We've all heard about the 40 acres in the mule, the promise, for the newly freed slaves, right? Right after the Civil War, the government, I think General Sherman, and the government promised 40 up to 40 acres in a mule to the newly freed slaves, so-called African Americans. But it got me thinking. Right? It got me thinking again, like why 40 acres in a mule? Why 40 acres in a mule? And I begin to just really think, right, and really ask the Most High to help me get a deeper understanding of what's really going on. And I start off with the mule, right? The mule. Why a mule? And those that know, we know that the mule is not only one of the most rebellious of all the domesticated animals, right? Stiff neck, right? Has a mind of its own, wants to do what it wants to do. That right there that set with me, right? That really set with me. Made me think about certain people. I mean, let's be real about it. Those that know, the Most High, in many aspects, compared Israel to a dumbass, right? Stiff necked, rebellious. But this animal, right? This mule, right? It's a cross between a female horse and a male donkey. But it's sterile, can't reproduce. So from that standpoint, you couldn't mate it and do any, you couldn't get any offspring. So that again, that's another issue. Then I thought to myself, I said, okay, well, what if you got hungry? You couldn't sacrifice the animal because it's not part of your diet, right? It's nothing you would eat. It's not part of your dietary level. Like I said, of all the animals, right? Why this animal? I mean, you could have picked, you know, a bull, an ox, cows, a horse, whatever, sheep, goat, so on and so forth. But you chose the mule, and the mule is an offspring again of the female horse and the donkey. But where does the donkey come from? Again, very very calculated. The donkey originated is originally from the Horn of Africa, Northeast Africa. Hmm. Again, like I said, it's not at all coincidental. This is very calculated by said people said system. Again, the donkey is from the Horn of Africa, Northeast Africa, right? So-called Middle East, right? But then again, it got me thinking even more so about the land, right? I mean, these people, my ancestors were promised 40 acres, up to 40 acres. It's promise of land, right? Promise of land, promised land. Then the children of Israel walked around in the wilderness for 40 years. And again, it's right there, right in front of our face. The insult, right? promise of 40 acres, right? The promise of land. And ironically, the same group of people, when they was going into the promised land, they had just came out of slavery. My ancestors had just come out of slavery. So again, you got to realize, man, this is the mindset of a people that's really hell-bent on not really being held accountable, but also at the same time, I'm going to add insult to injury. I'm going to make mockery, right, of you. And you don't even get it because of your ignorance, right? You know, you really, truly think this is just a game. You know, you think that these people don't know, but they really know. But like I said, it's really very telling. You know, most people will not make the spiritual connection. You know, they would just take it, okay, well, you know, the government, the people are trying to do the right thing. They're really trying to, you know, make good on the promise. But when you start really digging deeper, you start realizing it's like, yeah. But again, after the assassination of then President Abraham Lincoln, you know, the government, you know, took whatever from said people, took some of that stuff back. But again, at the end of the day, when you really look at it, you really break it down, you really begin to peel back the layers. You begin to see the insult. You begin to see the mockery. A group of people that's coming out of fresh out of slavery, being in bondage, right? Enslaved against their own will. A promise of land, 40 acres. But also this mule, right? For those that see it, you see it now. And there's going to be people that's going to be just like, they're going to be hell-bent on to just think and feel how they want to feel because they don't want to be held accountable because said system benefits them, right? Said system can do no wrong in their eyesight. Move on, right? But for those of us that really see it, it makes more and more sense. It's very calculated. Again, like I said, on the surface, it seems honorable. But deep down inside, it's really to take shots, right? To make fun of. Anyway, family, that's what I see. You may see something different. With that being said, as usual, peace, love. Shalom.